Reports are coming out that Azeez Ojulari could be on the trade block, and he might get dealt by the New York Giants and Joe Schoen before they trim down their roster. We're going to break those reports down on today's video. But first, if you want to beat the Minnesota Vikings, Week 1, you got to subscribe to the channel. Here at Chat Sports, we have a channel for almost every single NFL team. And former Giants Now producer Patrick Seatman, he hosts the 0-1 Vikings Now channel here at Chat Sports. And we're going to beat them in Week 1, and also subscribers picked up this week. So if you love the Giants and you want to beat the Vikes, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Could Azeez Ojulari be on the move for a corner? We're going to break that down on today's show. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's dive into it. As Dan Duggan of The Athletic, insider for the New York Giants, made a bold prediction on Twitter, and he thinks Ojulari could be dealt. This was the tweet where he said, I think the most likely outcome is a cornerback is claimed off waivers next week. I don't see a splash veteran signing. Trade is an interesting possibility. My bold prediction is that Ojulari gets dealt in a player-for-player trade. He tweeted that out a couple of days ago, and then he wrote a new article on his 53-man roster projection for The Athletic, where he went into depth about Ojulari potentially being dealt. I'll read what he said. Ojulari's status bears monitoring. He's clearly the third best edge rusher on the roster, and the Giants need some depth behind Burns and Thibodeaux. But Ojulari hasn't had a strong camp, and it's hard to find many snaps for him since he's a pass rush specialist playing behind two workhorses, who will be on the field for most passing downs. There has been no evidence Ojulari will move inside on passing downs. He doesn't have the body type for that role, and he didn't line up for a single snap during training camp. All of that makes Ojulari a potential trade chip. He's in the final year of his rookie contract and doesn't have a future in New York with Burns and Thibodeaux locked in as the cornerstones. The Giants could try to deal Ojulari for help at another position, like corner. Benton Whitley could be the beneficiary of Ojulari getting traded. Even if Ojulari remains, Whitley is also a sleeper for a roster spot. He's had a strong camp and has played on starting special teams units. I just want to start by saying this. I would hate to see Azeez Ojulari go. If you've been following this channel for a while, dating back to when he was drafted, I'm a big fan of Ojulari. Talent has never been a reason for the lack of production. It's the fact that he's often injured, and that is unfortunate because sometimes the best ability is availability. And if you're not able to be available, you're not going to be out there able to produce like he has when he is healthy. I mean, look at the season that he had in 2021. 8 sacks, 49 tackles, 8 tackles for loss. He was awesome. And we're going to show you stats on today's show showing and painting the picture that this guy is a good football player, but he's been hurt a lot, and that's what stinks. He said he's 100% healthy now. I'm just not sure if that is going to result in him playing good football. The reason I mainly want to hang on to him, though, is he is still just 24 years old. I'm not ready to punt on him. I get it. Last year of his rookie contract, and there's a lot of depth at that edge spot, right? You got Burns and you got Thibodeaux, but really outside of that, I don't got the most faith in the world in Boogie Basham. Is Tom and Fox going to be that guy? Is Benton Whitley going to be the first pass rusher? What happens if, worst case scenario, Burns or Thibodeaux get hurt and you trade Ojulari? We're going to be focused on Boogie Basham getting after the quarterback on third down. I don't think there's enough depth at this position to move on from him unless you are adding a starter at another position. Let's talk some stats. The dude has 16 sacks in 35 games played. That means he gets a sack almost every other game played. He has 27 quarterback hits. He gets after the passer. He has 42 pressures in his career stats. Think about it like this. When you talk about Azeez Ojulari, the guy has played in a total of 35 games. 35 games in his career. Played in 17 games in 2021. That was the most he has ever played. But you talk about his career stats. 42 pressures, 27 QB hurries, 13 QB hits. He has 42 pressures in 35 games. He's getting after the quarterback. He's really, really good when healthy. Thing is, he's not always that healthy. And when you break it down to his pressure rate, when you talk about pass rush snaps that equals in pressures. 9.6% of his snaps in 2021 were pressured. 13.13 and a half at 2022 in passing downs. Pressure. And then in 2023, 19.4. This is a great number. 13.5. That's an elite number in this league. Look at it from this lens. When you compare him to Kayvon Thibodeaux, he has a much higher career pressure rate. You compare him to Brian Burns, he's right on his heels, and as well as Dexter Lawrence. I actually believe pound for pound, move for move, Ojulari is more refined as a pass rusher than Kayvon Thibodeaux. I think that's replicated and stated in the pressure rate. But he's more injured, and I don't think he's nearly as good in the run in Thibodeaux, who I still think has a long way to get there. I will say this, though. If the Giants can flip Azeez for a starting corner, then you absolutely have to think about it. And you're going to probably have to make that move because of all of the reasons that Dan Duggan talked about. You got your two cornerstone guys. He's going to be a free agent after this year. How much is Azeez Ojulari even worth in a contract year? Do you want to believe what you see this year? Because it is a contract year. Because we know most players in that year play their best football and they play through injuries. I'm going to try to make sense of this. And we'll talk about a player that I think they could trade for who's been a preseason standout for an NFC team. But first, I got to tell you about our proud sponsor, Game Time. Download the Game Time app, use the promo code ChatSports, and get $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. If you want to go to a Giants game, a Yankees game, a Mets game, a Knicks game, a Nets game, maybe you want to go to a concert or a theater event or maybe a comedy show, you can get the best seats for the lowest prices guaranteed with Game Time. Prices actually drop as the events get closer. You get last-minute tickets, and the app will alert you when a flash deal is going on. You get views from the seats inside the app, and I love it because you get the lowest price guaranteed. I'm someone that likes to be catered to as a customer. And Game Time, they do that. They make sure you're getting the best price out there. They also are going to show you the all-in pricing. That way you don't get hit with a bunch of hidden fees when you get to checkout. So download the app, create an account, use the promo code ChatSports, that's ChatSports, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. More than just Giants games. You go to a comedy show, theater event, concert. I got to go to the Home Run Derby. I got to see the Grateful Dead last summer. I got to go to the Mavericks-Knicks game this year, and I don't continue to use Game Time because they take care of me. Download the app, create an account, promo code ChatSports. What time is it? It is game time. All righty. The reason I think the Giants would trade Azeez Ojulari is if they can get a starter at the corner position. But do they have to do it now? There's no doubt about it. The Giants have to make a move at the corner spot. Cordell Flott, he's dealing with an injury. Deonte Banks is the only guy that I think is actually an NFL talent when it comes to being a boundary corner in this league. Trey Hawkins, I think, still has a long way to go. I'm not even sure David Long or Mario Goodrich is going to make this team. Roster cuts are still going on. I think Darnay Holmes will be cut. And Isaiah Simmons, just in my opinion, is not a slot corner. So you're going to have McLeod, Phillips, Flott, maybe Herndon, Banks, and Hawkins. Just not good enough to compete in the NFC, especially the NFC East, where every team has good receivers. Eagles have two. Cowboys have two. Commanders have Terry McLaurin. Like, the Giants have to go do something and add a legitimate NFL talent at that position. Because I fear that if you don't and you just throw Deonte Banks out there to the Wolves to survive as a number one corner, you're going to stunt his development. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic as always. Can the Giants wait for the waiver wire, though? Is there a way, which the Giants had the 6th selection in the waiver wire, which is something I figured out, you get to make all the claims you want at the 6th spot. You don't got to wait till a snake draft like it's fantasy to pick your second guy. All the guys you want, you can make the claim for them at the 6th spot. And I guarantee you the Giants are going to put in multiple waiver claims for the corner position. A name to keep an eye on is second-year corner Keenan Isaac. My Sports Update, shout out to Ari Mirov, says the Bucs are expected to release cornerback Keenan Isaac, who had a 91.2 Pro Football Focus coverage grade in the preseason and recorded an interception. I don't know why it says per source. Those are the stats. Maybe that they're releasing him. That's per source. But Tampa had some tough cuts to make in a deep defensive back room, and Isaac fell victim to the numbers game. Not a lot of stats out there for him. He's played in just 2 games in the NFL after being a 2023 UDFA out of Alabama State. Still just 24 years old and he's got legit size. I would say he's extremely large for a corner, 6'3", 190 pounds. For me, though, like if I am trading Azeez Ojulari, I got to get someone who's produced in the NFL before, because Azeez Ojulari has produced in the NFL. Isaac had a great preseason, though. Like, you can call it the preseason, whatever you want to do. The numbers are the numbers. He was really good. He had an 85.9 overall PFF grade, a 90.2 grade in coverage. He had that interception, and when quarterbacks targeted him, he allowed an NFL passer rating of just 16.7. Like, if those were NFL numbers, if he did that in a couple of NFL games, I would say, yeah, go ahead and send Ojulari to Tampa, and let's pick up Isaac and add a young corner who's 6'3" with upside. But trading a guy that has 16 sacks in his career, over 35 games, and 14 tackles for loss and 27 QB hits and over 40 pressures for a guy that's not even going to make the 53-man roster for the Tampa Bay Bucks feels like a little too much. And maybe I'm too high on Azeez Ojulari. I've always been a big fan, dating back to Georgia. I thought the Giants got a steal in the second round, and maybe I need to put more stock into the fact that he cannot stay healthy. But I also can't forget the production that he's had when he is healthy. And teams that are good in this league, they have multiple guys that can get after the quarterback. And I know the Giants have Thibodeaux and Burns and Dexter Lawrence. Man, what about adding or keeping Azeez Ojulari? So you have a supplementary piece. So you don't have to run Thibodeaux in the ground. So you don't have to run Burns into the ground. I'd hold on to him. But you know what? That's just me. What do you think? Should the Giants trade Azeez Ojulari? If I can get a starting corner that's proven he can do it, I will do it. If not, I'm keeping him, and I'm having 3 really good edge rushers. I think this role actually is perfect for him. Less mileage, less time to get injured. And he'll stay fresh, and I think he'll produce. T for trade, K for keep. Let me know what your thoughts on Ojulari. And if you haven't yet, please give me a follow on social media. I'm on Twitter, @MarshallGreen_. I'm on Instagram, @MarshallGreen_. Let's continue the conversation over there, and let's go Big Blue.